Hello, and welcome to me kind of running behind schedule again. I should have done that, but time flies, and we'll just do this. Ta-da. I need to work on that stuff right there. Get that. My God, I can't bend my hand the right way. That stuff and that right there. That's a desk and a computer. That's a desk and a Ninja mech, and that is a computer. Anyway, does it really matter? I don't think so. But I'll get it fixed. Somehow I will defy physics or narrow this camera view a little bit. That'll help me get rid of that too. But anyway, I can't find a stand that I like. I found a tiny little stubby stand, but it's always tippy canoe, and I feel like it's going to fall over every time the wind blows. Anyway, how are you all? And welcome to another All the News at ohmTown.com on Twitch. Actually, we're on Twitch. I've yet to post all of my stuff that is expiring in the 14-day reserve area for my VODs. I don't have access to more VODs because I'm new. And therefore, I don't have VOD storage longer. But I think everybody suffers from that at some point. So, what is this all about? Well, to get you all caught up, ohmTown is a news aggregation site. I don't know why I have binge watch up there. I think it's because I did a search for something. Well, anyway, ohmTown aggregates news. A few hundred sources is my limit. That's kind of where I'm gonna stop. But I don't have 200 like I used to. Kind of purged a bunch of stuff, and I'm gonna be vetting the news sources a little bit and changing things up. So if you know of a news source that you think would be valuable to discuss here on Twitch is and my stream for 1 hour a day, every day. Hopefully every day. It might be a little rough here on Tuesday, but we shall see. I may not be able to make it back in time, but I will stream whenever I get back. How about that? Might be later. I'll be running around quite a bit on Tuesday, but home for all of it. Oh, and I stream out of a home office studio kind of a thing, so I'll just be crazy busy. I won't be able to stream on time, probably. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe I'll just call it quits and just stream. Just yeah, it's going to be kind of nuts. Anyway, I hope you're all enjoying what might be a 3-day weekend if you have one, if you've been granted one so graciously by the powers that be. And not all of us do. But I hope you enjoy having maybe Monday off. But what is ohmTown? I do this at the beginning of each of the VODs because I never know when somebody's going to be stumbling across me. ohmTown is a news aggregation site, and it grabs information and throws it into one of these 6 categories. And then within each of these categories are groups, communities, wherein the news gets funneled. And they all have topics. So like the word in technology is basically a technology group. Tablet Fan focuses on tablets, tablet computers. Smack Talk is Apple related. Prime Glass is camera related. Band to Bezel is about watches. Decidedly with an Apple tech tilt to it. But there are a lot of beautiful watches out there. I'm not a fanatic about anything, so if there is something that you find really interesting or something that falls out of favor in terms of the amount of content available, I may add something or remove something from this list. And it's really up to me and the rest of the citizens of ohmTown to make that determination about what should be removed. Yeah. So I hope you stop by ohmTown. Of course, you can always become a citizen just by clicking sign up, fill out some little bits of information, and create a site, create an account. And from there, it's all what else you want to do. You want to come back and chat with me and anybody else that might come into the chat, then so be it. Come and hang out, ask questions, make comments, do your thing that you would normally do on Twitch. Happy to answer questions. And I hope to see you. I used to just kind of filter through this as the hour went by, but I have now taken to grabbing a selection of stuff that I find perhaps interesting. I'm not sure if you'll find APA citation format guide and everything you need with examples to be very exciting, but just in case you are, one of the creator maker category groups is Breaking Prose. It's all about writing. I'm a big fan of short stories, as anyone who listens to the VOD, watches the VOD, will have heard me say. But don't ask me about writers in particular, because I like the content, but I'm not particularly bound to a particular writer or style. The genre that I like, though, is tech, like science fiction, fantasy, deep tech kind of thing. And I'm listening to more audiobooks than ever. So if you are interested in being able to somewhat passively listen to a book instead of reading it, then Audible is your cup of tea. There are other solutions out there for various types of audiobooks with more Foley work, I guess you could call it, more acting in it, more dramatically read. But they are way more expensive. But worth it if you can afford it. There's one series called the Leviathan Chronicles that was created years ago, but I have yet to get over it. It was an amazingly fun listen, and I'm not sure whatever happened to it. I know that it ended, and that there was supposed to be another version or another season of it starting, but I don't think it ever was finished. But perhaps it has, and somebody can set me straight. So when you click a link on ohmTown, it opens up a tab, and then you can read a little bit about it. It says APA style is one of the most common formats used for papers related to social sciences. Learn how to use APA style to format your paper correctly, and then you click on it, and it takes you to the source of that news bit. In this case, it's prowritingaid.com. And there are other solutions for this if you're curious. If you're writing a paper for school and it's APA format, there's other formats, Chicago and MLA, amongst others. There are others, but APA is primarily the format for tech papers and social science papers. But and in a lot of places, tech is kind of treated as an interloper in social sciences, but not here, not at ohmTown. ohmTown, we merge these technology, society, business, science, all of it is happily embraced because we are all influencing it and being influenced by these various areas. And they are never, ever going to be so disconnected that you could actually categorize them one from another. You can write about them and do fundamental research, trying to deduce various things, but for the most part, these topics are really, they're just tied together. It's impossible to do research without tech, and it's impossible to really utilize tech somewhere where society isn't either being impacted or impacting it. So enough of that. So, and that's kind of how ohmTown works. For those who aren't on the stream and not hosting a show, which is always an option. If you are interested in a topic and you want to host a show, feel free to get in touch with me and we can make that happen. So Breaking Prose is all about writing, and you can come and check out all of this news. Click on links, go and check out the group. And once you're logged in, there's actually an option to submit news, but it's a manual thing. It'll come to me and I'll take a look at it and see if we can create a submission. But I shy away from the do it yourself kind of thing, or made by the person doing the submission. Original work, original content. I try and fix the submissions to news sources. So keep that in mind when you submit. Now, I've selected a bunch, but for whatever reason, not a lot. There was so much that is coming in the form of political stuff and natural disasters, that I was kind of shocked by the amount. So if you run off to watch NFL playoffs, then so be it. But thank you for coming anyway. So this one I just did. Now this one here is the last 9 years among 10 hottest ever, says US. So the 9 years spanning 2013 to 2021 all rank among the hottest on record, according to an annual report. And this is from phys.org. They're a big contributor to news, and the amount of information that comes from them is pretty staggering. I mean, it's all science, so it has a tremendous amount of value. So if you go to ohmTown and you stumble across that link, last 9 years, all among 10 hottest ever. If you click the link, you'll get taken to the source, and then you read it, and then come back and chat. And so there's always been a fear that global warming, when it rises to a certain level, it will be almost impossible to recover from it, and you'll have mass die-offs of flora and fauna. And we are getting, for all accounts, it's getting dramatically more violent weather, and not something that we have been used to witnessing. Now, I mean, it's weird to hear it when I hear it, but I do hear it where people say, well, that's just because we're hearing about it more, this worse weather, or we don't hear about the nice weather and everything is fine. We only hear about the bad. And I'm always astonished by that, because critically thinking, you would think, well, just because you don't hear about it doesn't mean that it isn't happening somewhere. And yeah, it really is happening. You know, things are heating up, weather's getting more violent and more intense, and more often. And eventually we'll have to deal with it. And clawing back global weather conditions is kind of a difficult thing. But you'll always have somebody that says, why don't you just drop a nuke in the hurricane? Right. Because it doesn't do anything to the ecosystem of the planet. I'm sure it'll be fine. So, but it's not the case that at 1.4 everything is hunky-dory and at 1.6 all hell has broken loose. Correct. Things will get worse and worse. So click that link, go check it out, come back, talk with me on Twitch. Because you're finding, I mean, if you're here in my chat, then feel free to ask questions and make comments. It would be great. I really don't plan anything because I hope that I can just vamp off of people asking questions or making comments in chat. Because you can always go to ohmTown.com and gather, you know, the news that you are interested in. It's much more regimented, I guess you could say, in what information gets pulled in, because it's curated at the ingestion level and not at the submission level. So mods are almost, moderation is almost not needed, other than the posts themselves, like somebody logging in and just spamming something. And that should get caught as well. But at any rate, the amount of information is usually driven by my history of interacting with the news sources. So it's a little more controlled than some news aggregation sites. This is an ongoing thing. This fire breaks out at New Jersey chemical plant, and the Hill wrote an article about it. It's a very generic flame picture that they put up there, but this is still going right now, this Passaic fire, and has gotten worse. And you don't want to be around that. You don't want to be downwind from that. So try and stay inside and stay healthy. And those masks that everybody has will do good for people in the area, because the masks will filter not just COVID, but all of this debris that comes out of this fire as well. Not the gases. It won't stop gases. But it'll stop debris, little microparticles. We'll see. I know that news is still incoming for this, and if you're in the area, then stay safe. But we'll see what shakes from this. And that got pulled into Mobile, which is a group for an app that was in development called Mobile. But it was the mobile mob, and it was all about real-time news aggregation from people at the scene of whatever might be going on. It could be anything, really. But it was people submitting little snippets of video, kind of like a live TikTok kind of thing. And then aggregating it into their own little group or a geographic region. So never completed it. And if anybody is interested in, I own the domain, and I'm still interested in producing it, but I can't do everything. So when I was younger, I thought that I could do anything and everything. And while I still believe I can do anything, everything is nearly impossible. Anyway, so yeah. So we talked about that a little bit. So the word in tech, it aggregates tech news, and in the future I will put together articles that are all related in some way, and then I'll do a show, or a host or co-host will do a show focusing articles on a particular word in tech. In this particular instance, it's Razer's excellent Basilisk V3 mouse is selling for its best price ever. So this was written by The Verge, published at The Verge, and when you click the link, it opens automatically a new thing, a new tab, but I right click and open it intentionally. And this is by Sheena Vasani. Sheena Vasani. And Razer makes some really cool mice. I have used Razer Mice before, various iterations, all with programmable buttons on the side, and they are high quality, and I really dig them, except for the fact that I stopped liking mice in general. And a long time ago, I switched to there's a type of trackball from Microsoft. They don't make it anymore, and when you try and find it, and now it's just slipped my mind which one it is. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find it. And everybody will go, "Oh my God, dude, you are old." It's the original edition of, I think, the Trackball Explorer. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but yeah, I think it's the original Trackball Explorer. And it had its buttons and its design in a different way than the versions that are out now. Well, anyway, that trackball is something like $200 if you try and buy it now, maybe more. I wish I could find it. Ugh. Anyway, so I use a trackball, and it's because I don't like having to slide a little gadget around, trying to move my character or move my cursor. And so now I use the Deft Pro, the Elecom Deft Pro, and it just sits there on my desk, and I can move. And I've got 3 27-inch monitors and another one up there, and I control 2 PCs that are over here, and I don't have to move a mouse pad. I don't have to move a mouse. I don't have to worry about a mouse pad. I mean, I don't have to move my mouse around. It's just a trackball, and I can scroll and scroll and scroll forever. But I love the idea of programmable anything, programmable mice, programmable keyboards. There's different types of input devices, like the Orb Weaver is an amazing piece of kit if you are interested in gaming with programmable buttons from here to eternity, different levels of them, so that you can sit there and just click a button and it'll change to another set of macros, and it's just a blast to use. But if you are interested in getting a good deal, then The Verge can point you to where that deal is, and it's apparently at Amazon, but they have a link that I'm sure in some way gives them a slight perk when somebody purchases it. So if you're interested, the Razer is on sale at Amazon, but go through The Verge. And you can find it by going through ohmTown. If you don't, just go straight over to The Verge. Either way, it's fine. On Mobile is another submission. A bill proposed a new way to teach history. It got the history wrong. So, I'm trying not to get into the politics of this, but it is a political thing because it's a Republican legislator in Virginia who campaigned against critical race theory, introduced a bill that incorrectly said that Lincoln Douglas debates were between Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. So if we click the link, it's at New York Times. And so critical race theory isn't typically taught in grade schools. It's it's not really theory. Anyway, it becomes an issue because there is no way you can look at our history and not realize that there is a racial divide, there is a geopolitical divide based around race, there is an economic divide, a technological divide, there is a divide, and it although it is slowly shrinking, you can't expect a society to recover from long-term I have to say it. It's long-term abuse, long-term oppression. All the way up to the 70s, it was overt. 1970s, not 1870s, 1970s. It was overt. And you can still see it institutionally in some places where others are making strives to overcome this. You should be able to talk about it because it is an element of our society. It is an element of our history, and trying to ignore it is akin to the same thing that's happening with COVID. You can't ignore it. It truly exists, but you have to be able to be open to introspection and situational awareness when you're not looking at yourself and the history of the United States. It's shocking, I know, to have to actually look back and go, yes, it happened. But and I'm not sitting there saying, well, everybody in modern age has to be held accountable for what happened in the past. No, far be it from me to suggest that. I don't think that is truly necessary. But what's truly necessary is that everybody be treated equal. Without a doubt, everybody treated equal. And that doesn't happen. And it can't happen until everybody has some opportunity to better themselves, right? But there is an inequity between races, and it's demonstrable in data. You can actually look at the data and you see it. You cannot treat it as anecdote and go, well, I don't see it, so it must not exist. But undoubtedly, I'm sure I'll be hit with comments of, well, you're wrong because this, that, and the other. You and your book learning. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe somebody in chat or somebody who watches my VOD will come back and talk shop with me and see what is the problem with treating everybody equal. Well, they got it wrong. This person got it wrong. And it will be dismissed, I'm sure, as being... Yeah, there it is. I trust this was an honest mistake, and I don't hold it against legislative services. Well, mistakes that don't get corrected overtly perpetuate that mistake. It becomes mired in the space between outright truth and outright lie, and everything in between is a blurry shade of gray. And it's just wrong. We have historical knowledge of what has transpired. So anyway, let me get off that soapbox. And I hope that nobody walked out on me because of this. I'm rather holistic in looking at society, and my 3 domains are business, technology, and society. And I merged those 3 together in my news. And that's the area that I'm interested in talking about, along with all of these others, of which all of them merge together into those 3. Like, we can talk today. You have an idea for something. We could talk today I can't really stay for hours and hours tonight, but if we spent 3 hours chatting about an idea you have, and 3 hours is just really an arbitrary number that I've thrown up, we could take your idea straight to market on the air right now. We could sit here and nearly regardless of what your skill level is, your understanding of business, technology, and society, I could take you from having this just an inkling of an idea to finding manufacturing, applying for a patent if it can be patented, spinning up a website, starting your marketing, getting you in touch with people who might be interested in taking your idea to market, all live. And all you have to do is embrace it. Be a willing participant who really wants to do this, because it's a lot of hard work once you get going. There's a whole bunch of stuff before you get going, before the public sees your product. But we can talk through everything that you need to do to launch a business within the United States. Okay. To me, it doesn't matter where you are, but because my experience is rooted primarily in the United States, I don't know the business machinations and legal issues that you might face in other countries. And there's minutia that is different between one country and another. But I can certainly help you navigate how to take your idea and make it a real thing. You might have to spend money. You might have to get somebody else as a contractor to do something. Like build marketing materials, but you could hire somebody to do that relatively inexpensively. And a lot of this is relatively of something, relative quality, relative expense, relative time, because everybody is a little different. There's no way to nail it down firmly. I'm not going to go down too deep into this rabbit hole, but in the United States, it's fairly easy to spin up a business. Maintaining it, growing it, turning the little from the tiniest of seed, the mighty oak grows. That's what your business is when you first start it. It's a little seed. They even call it seed rounds, seed funding. Anyway. Yeah. There's a lot that can be done live. And so that's why I'm really interested in being on Twitch and talking with people live, real time. I tend to come across as scatterbrained, but it's called associative thinking. And basically you start somewhere and diverge but come back. How I can come back to this would be difficult, but education is key. And if you get your education wrong, or you presume for a moment that parents alone should be the one that are educating kids. What you end up is having an echo chamber of the same ideology, and that ideology could be fundamentally wrong, absolutely fundamentally wrong, because this person has undoubtedly been telling people, they would have to have been telling people that this is what it was about, and they were wrong, right? So how many people have they impacted with this incorrect knowledge with no caveats, right? But we only have this one little bit. We only have this one little article to go on. So what really is this? And that's where a phrase that I tell everybody, context matters. We don't know what really transpired. We know what is being reported. We know what somebody said, what somebody else said. And this is the embodiment of that. That right there is the embodiment of the he said, she said, they said, refrain of reporting, right? And this is all, let's just assume that all of this is absolutely accurate, right? There's no question about it. All of this was said, all of this was done, but it was wrong. So now, is there going to be a lot of hype around the correction? And is it going to make a difference? Probably not. Because the people that need to learn what the truth is, aren't going to go past what they were initially told, because the echo chamber of education is there, is protecting them. And so, as is what will continue to be a COVID world, Apple will now require employees to submit proof of COVID-19 booster shot. Pardon me one second. Yeah, it's kind of impossible for me to stop my scratchy throat, it seems. Today I have some unsweetened iced tea sitting next to me, and I've been slurping away, and after 40 minutes of talking, I'm still coughing a little bit, scratchy throat. That's it. Don't have a cold, don't have a temperature, don't have COVID. But maybe it's psychosomatic because I'm talking about it. Anyway, so Apple's going to require people to submit proof of a booster shot. Now, I'm not keen on having to pick between employment and my health, but Apple, and this isn't an experimental vaccine. This is demonstrably safe. Are there anomalies? Are there fringe where somebody gets an injection and they have a negative response to it, right? So they get sick in some other way, anaphylactic shock or something like that. That's why there are medical professionals on hand to try and stop anything that might harm them. But it isn't that the vaccine is inherently bad. It's that there is no way that every single treatment for everything is absolutely going to help every human being absolutely perfectly. Why? Because we are constructions of DNA, and those building blocks are different for each of us. And every once in a while, there's genetic wobble in there where something might cause a reaction, but then medicine responds to that. You take a medicine to counter the influences of whatever it is that caused it. it's not that it's an experimental medicine. This stuff has been around for quite some time. Putting it together in a novel way doesn't necessarily make it, just shooting in the dark, hoping to hit something with your Nerf gun. It's an educated decision built on testing and medical and academic rigor to show evidence that it will save lives. But just the other day, I got into a discussion about it based on the fact that, well, if I get the vaccine, then I don't need the mask. And well, no, that's not true, because you can still carry the virus around in you. You just don't infect it at the same level. I should say you don't get impacted by it at the same level. You might have a scratchy throat. I don't have COVID. Anyway, you might have some symptoms that are lighter than somebody who doesn't have the vaccine. It doesn't make you immune to it. It makes you fare better. And that's the same thing for the flu vaccine that has been floating around for as long as I can remember. It lightens the impact, and those who don't have the vaccine die. They don't just get sniffles. They don't just get a headache. They don't just get a scratchy throat. They don't just barely feel the little bit of what normally would be COVID-19. The people without a vaccine get crushed by it. And reaching out and saying to somebody, well, this person didn't get hit by it so bad. Again, not everybody gets crushed by every illness that they get hit with. Some have a robust immune system. But it shouldn't be up to you to make that decision for everybody else in society. You walk down the street and you have COVID-19 and you get other people sick. It's sociopathic to make that decision to infect other people if you know that you have COVID-19. And if you ignore the fact that you might have COVID-19, it's equally sociopathic. You are part of a society. Be a part of society. Don't just take from it. You have to give back. And even in the littlest sense of giving back is wearing a mask and getting a vaccine. But but that's me. That's my perspective of it. You don't have to abide by it, but I would encourage you to. And I can't say that you will fare perfectly fine from the vaccine. I've got all 3 shots, and the first one didn't really bother me that much, but I had prepared for it. I hydrated really well. I rested. And then the second one hit me harder because that's exactly what is expected. And then again, I prepared. I drank electrolytes to keep my body very hydrated with nutrients. And then the booster was nothing to me. It did what it needed to do, and now I'm waiting for the next time that I need to take another booster, because it doesn't last forever, and the virus mutates. And it happens in your own body. I mean, your DNA is slowly changing. You have the same DNA, but its telomeres are shortening, and there's genetic wobble as time goes on where it doesn't code properly, and it's much more complex than what I'm trying to say, but changes are taking place. So when you take this vaccine, it's going to help you. Just take it. You won't be harmed by it. Most people, I should say, won't be harmed by it. And those that do, It's rare that it does in the grand scheme of things. But when you have 30% infection positivity and you end up being a long hauler because you caught Omicron and it did damage to your lungs and muscles, you will regret. And that's exactly what happens in hospitals and emergency rooms. The people that get crushed by this virus always say, can I get the vaccine now? No, now it's too late, because your body can't handle fighting the deactivated viral load that gets injected in you. Your body still reacts, but you don't get hit by the symptoms as bad. And you get the antibodies that stop the virus from hitting you for a year or 8 months or however long the shot and booster persist in your system. Well, anyway, enough of that, right, Marawatt? Just keep talking about it. In the context of Apple, right? So I'll get off my soapbox, but Apple is making that societal decision for its social segment, right? So it has an influence on the people that are working for it, for the organization. So if you aren't willing to protect your fellow workers, you have to do special things. You're going to have to get tested. You're going to have to get quarantined or you're going to have to stay home and maybe be able to do your job. But they'll have 4 weeks to comply. Otherwise, they'll need to take frequent tests to enter a retail store, partner store, or Apple office starting on February 15th. And I know of places that are saying you can't come to work unless you're wearing an N95 mask. Well, those things are flying off the shelf and you can't find them anymore. So hoarders and profiteers and people that are buying up entire pallets worth just so that they can sell them on eBay, you suck. Because really what you're doing is you're pricing out, you're not selling it for the same price. And I've seen this before. I mean, we saw it with paper towels and toilet papers when the pandemic started. And these horrible people buy it all up because they have the means, and then they price out the people who can't afford it at that new rate. And everybody says, well, that's supply and demand. No, that's not supply and demand. Supply and demand means that the manufacturers are selling it at a price that in normal market times, people can purchase it. But when people are purchasing it by the truckload and they're wheeling their F-350 into the back of a Target and scooping up 6 pallets, that's kind of shit human behavior. Oh, pardon my language. You're a sociopath. And not ensure, I'll get, and I've had this said to me before, I'd rather be rich than and alone than a member of society, because I can make friends later, but I can make a ton of money now. Yeah. Society has its it takes a village type of mentality. You have to kind of just deal with that. And I don't agree with it. I could have done that. I could have gone and purchased pallets worth of paper towels and blah, blah, blah. And I say blah, blah, blah a lot because there's so much to unpack that I have to summarize. Otherwise, I end up going down a rabbit hole. This article is written by The Verge. And when you click the link, it just pops it up. And it says that unvaccinated employees will need negative COVID-19 tests before entering the workplace. Yep. That is going to continue until we stamp it out And it's going to be hard to wipe out COVID because coronavirus it's a flu, but COVID-19 is a flu that is so amped up that it's killing people, destroying lungs. And the way that it works is it destroys the alveoli in your lungs to the point where your lungs fill up with fluid and you drown sitting there. And so they have to force oxygen into your lungs and remove the moisture, and but at a certain rate, at a certain pressure, and anything worse does damage as well. And I mean, it's such a fine line that nobody should go through it. So I wish everybody the best, particularly those who are making this choice to not get vaccinated. I think everybody should. So there are some storms coming. There's a winter storm coming along the East Coast that's going to put a damper on a lot of people's day off on Monday. And it's gonna come Saturday night, Sunday morning, maybe Sunday night. Really depends on where you are, but 33 states are under a winter weather warning right now. And this is an article from ABC News. Meredith Deliso. I won't play the video or the audio, but there are a lot of people that are going to get stuck on 95, let me tell you. And if something that I've been saying since the beginning of this is this COVID-19 has demonstrated that we do not need to travel for most jobs outside of hands-on manufacturing. You can do so much from your home as long as you don't have to do manufacturing. And manufacturing is a massive amount of jobs, but what's going to end up happening is a very large movement from using human capital to automated systems, because this downtime and this supply chain issue that persists 2 years after this pandemic started is built entirely on the fact that there are humans in the supply chain process. And the people who make the supply chain, right? So the companies that utilize humans, there's typically an objective for a business. Hold on one second. So a business really isn't seen as succeeding unless it's building a new job, at least a new job every year. It has a new position and it's growing. Obviously, depending on the size of the business and its capital investments, more positions need to be created, right? So if you work at a software company and the company doubles the amount of funding, then the expectation is you double the size of your team so that you can meet the demand of business growth or opportunities that might be sitting there waiting for this investment to be leveraged. Yeah, I'm speaking in generalities, but the problem is that every time there's winter weather, every time somebody gets drunk or stoned or stupid or gets in a car accident or is out back and breaks their ankle, the human is the fallible element in the supply chain. Everything else can be automated. And if it's automated, and if your job can be automated, then somebody that has the means to make that automated job happen will eventually do that when they get bit enough by the downtime. Do I think it's a shame? Yes. Do I think it's inevitable? Yes. And I think it's inevitable because humans are easily broken, in some way. You get in your car and you drive down the road, and somebody who isn't watching where they're going smashes into your car. You end up in the hospital, and the business can't operate because you're the point of failure, right? Well, where do you go from that? That's a whole other discussion, because you're not going to get another job when automation is taking more and more jobs. We will have to rise up against the machines. I'm being facetious, but the reality is that automation is always taking more jobs. So when you've got weather hitting 33 states that could stop traffic, where do you go? What do you do? People can't show up for work. They're stuck in the snow. Supplies are stuck in the snow. You basically have to plan for these moments so that you can get the raw materials to an automated processing system so that the means of production are still in place and functioning. A continuity of operations plan to facilitate continuing the economic system of buying and selling goods and services. Well, we're going to get hammered by weather, along with supply chain issues, along with COVID issues, along with ever increasing number of people that are dropping out of the workplace because wages aren't at the same level of growth as inflation. I mean, it's a real mess. Yet, when it comes to human beings, somebody always says, well, I'll just get another job. Well, I hate to break it to you, but there are people out there with PhDs and good social skills that are still not working in their given field. And their given field isn't necessarily, Sanskrit. It's something that it's in biological sciences, or it's in nuclear physics, or it's in law, or whatever. I mean, there aren't as many jobs available as one might suspect. Even in one of my areas of expertise, there are thousands of jobs available, but the employers are saying that they aren't qualified for those positions, even though they are trained to the industry standard. The employers don't want to, they want more than what they're getting. So, the dynamic changes, and those people have to train more. So it's going to be an interesting next 20 years, and definitely don't think about 1 year down the line, 2 years down the line. I used to think like that, but you got to think more 5, 10 years down the line, because you don't know what you don't know, and planning in a concrete way without any flexibility is going to be an issue in the future as companies pivot and society changes. So hopefully we stay teleworking and we don't have to worry about traveling in this horrible weather, or in the horrible future weather that's coming our way. So 75 million Americans are going to be impacted by this winter. We shall see what happens, as I say, with most of this. Archive 81 showrunner unravels finale's supernatural switch up. So if you've never watched Archive 81, don't even listen to any of this. And I've not watched it, but I'm not really surprised by stuff. There's nothing really as spoilery to me, but I'm not going to read this simply because of this. But if you have watched, if you watched Archive 81, throw something in chat. or come by and talk to me again tomorrow at 6 o'clock, because it's 7 right now. And let me know what you think of Archive 81. I don't know of anybody that's watched it. I've actually spoken to a couple of people who are Netflix fanatics, and they said that they haven't watched it. So I'm really curious. But watching one episode doesn't really let me get enough of it. Like, I watched the first 2 episodes of the Wheel of Time series, and I can't get into it. There's something about it that it seems kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It doesn't seem like it is, my goodness, I don't know how to describe it. It doesn't seem like it's grounded in reality anywhere. Yeah, I know that it's a fantasy TV show that has magic and monsters. Don't get me wrong, I understand that. But when you look at it, it almost seems like the acting and the backdrop and the world is disconnected from each other. And I half expect it to end up on riff tracks on Twitch, right? Where they're making comments about this show, because it just doesn't seem, it doesn't seem like the people are in the same room. Maybe it's just me. I have to give it another chance. Drink some more coffee before I watch it. I don't know. But I just couldn't align myself with it after 2 episodes. But I was told, if you keep with it, it actually will speed up. But like Hawkeye, oh man, Hawkeye was a slow burn. Maybe the Wheel of Time series is a slow burn. But I'll give Archive 81 a chance and see what it's all about. But you can click this link if you've already seen it and you want to know more about season 2. Just click the link, visit the source. It'll throw you over to variety.com, and you can consume it to your heart's content without me being responsible for spoiling things. And now for this last news segment, there was a volcano that erupted near Tonga, and it basically started tsunamis all over. And in some places it's only going to be like a foot, and other places it's going to be more or less. But that's not really what I'm going to talk about. First off, it was a massive explosion, and there were cameras trained on the area enough from orbit to actually see the explosion and the shock wave from it just radiate out from the eruption site. And it's amazing to see this thing, and it basically just travels around the world. Just a huge explosion. And I haven't gone looking for more real world video of it. I don't know if there's video of the actual eruption outside of these orbiting platforms watching the area, but it's fascinating that we have gotten to the point now where we have cameras trained that are high resolution enough and public enough for people to consume the video. There are military government cameras that are in orbit that are very high resolution, like being able to read the mint stamp on a dime sitting in somebody's backyard. But this was looking at the entirety of the planet, and this eruption was so big that you could see it and the shockwave, part the clouds and scroll around the planet. It was just amazing. We are living in interesting times, which is something that I say to a lot of people. And when I mentioned earlier, don't plan just for the last 2 years, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I started using the internet before it became capital I internet, right? So I've been on the internet since before the DoD left it. And to the public. And in my years, I've seen my technology go from a 110 baud acoustic coupled modem, which is something that I was talking to somebody about last night, all the way up to multiple gigabit speeds for wireless, right? I no longer need a modem per se, an acoustic coupled modem I don't need. Fiber optics make things easier. It's more expensive, but it's easier to run cable in a smaller form factor. And then you can just drop it to wireless and then use Wi-Fi 6. And you have amazing coverage, amazing speed, amazing reliability, just fantastic amounts of devices that can connect to Wi-Fi 6. Like one of my access points can handle, I think it's 200 concurrent connections or devices. It's just bananas. So it's been a considerable amount of time when you are 18 and talking to me, you'll go, well, it's been a long time since you, but we all are bound by the same time frame. And so if what happened to me starting at 110 baud acoustic coupled modem and now with multiple gigabit connection, you are going to go through that exact same thing. I got to point at the camera. You are going to go through the same exact thing. You, when you get to my age, are going to look back and go, look at all the stuff I've seen. And time you can't get back. So plan accordingly. And with that, I'll just say plan for coming back to ohmTown on Twitch at 6 o'clock tomorrow. And we will talk some more. I will have another selection of news. Hopefully it's a little more exciting. Every time you click on the ohmTown logo, you will probably get a new set of news elements in the all the news section, as well as if you click on sections like create, news, education, entertainment, social, and technology, or any of these groups. That is where the news gets funneled to, except from the front page where everything is put into one long stream. And wow, I've never thought that I would see that headline. I'll just leave it sitting there. At any rate, I will be back tomorrow at 6 o'clock. I might actually play Red Dead Redemption 2. I just decided to get it. And I really like modern westerns, and this would be the first time I play a Red Dead Redemption 2. I've never played Red Dead Redemption, and there's an online version of it too. I don't know that I don't know if I'll get a chance to play it, but I do have it. That said, you never know what's going to be in the news, and I hope to see you tomorrow. And if you say anything in chat, we can talk about it tomorrow. Okay, so go over to ohmTown, sign up, come back to Twitch, and let me know tomorrow at 6 o'clock Eastern. Sound good? Right on. See you tomorrow.